Is the Maxx a big deal? I honestly don't know if it is. I mean, I've known about the Maxx my entire life. My brother, this is actually one of my brother's old comics, because I read an article yesterday that said that the Maxx was coming back, and I was like, oh, I thought that was just, maybe a thing only I knew about, and my brother knew about. And he even had a huge Maxx action figure. So, you know what, I guess it was a big deal, but apparently they're bringing it back. So I was like, you know what, let me look through my stack of my old brother's comics and see what we got. And he has almost the entire first run of this, but I'm just going to do the first issue just to, I don't know, just like a refresher. Because I read like the first 10 issues of this quite a few years ago, and I don't remember a goddamn thing. So let's get into it. But I will say, I think this is coming back because I forgot about the emphasis on mental illness and how mental illness is like the hottest shit around right now, because we're entering an age where it's super, it's okay to talk about. Apparently we haven't been, because I'll be honest, there's nothing more scary than looking at a person and saying, hey, your brain is wrong, but then I remember, oh, I also have one of those. And it could just stop working at any moment. That's terrifying. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist. But I guess those dumb academic types have decided, it's probably better if we talk about these things. And, oh, God, okay. So let's get into this. And I would like to first talk about something that has always haunted me. Always. And it's the fact that Sam Kieth's name is spelled incorrectly. And you say, Lindsay, it's a name. It can't be spelled incorrectly. And I'll tell you, to go fuck yourself. Caitlin with a K. What? It's spelled wrong. It's spelled wrong. I'm sure Kieth means something like, when you grow up and you're like, oh, what does my name mean? Oh, I think Kieth means blah, blah, blah. And then whenever someone told his ancestors the last name Kieth, and he was like, oh, that sounds cool. I want that to be my surname. But then they didn't tell him how to spell it. I don't know. It's always haunted me, and I feel like it's never too late to get that changed, Sam. And become a real life human being person. So just so there's no confusion, this is called The Maxx. And I also remember that there was a cartoon. MTV had a really weird period of time where they played like Aeon Flux, which I saw that they're thinking about bringing back, which don't bring. It's fine how it is. Just leave it. And they had Big Head Man. And Beavis and Butthead was on at the same time, and I think there was some other stuff, but Big Head Man, Beavis and Butthead, The Maxx. Was The Maxx a cartoon? Maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know. So let's get into this. We start off, in a box, because that's where we used to put crazy people. I mean, there was a period of time in history where we put them in sanitariums, and we all let them just get tuberculosis and die. And then we were like, you know what, that's inhumane. Let's give them their own box. That's better. That's more humane. So he's like, it's wet. Dark and wet. It's the kind of weather that penetrates. It makes your skin feel itchy and oily. Dirty kind of, but real, too. That's good. It's time for cheers. Sam and Diane, Norm Peterson, the coach, and then after he died, Woody. I don't have a TV, but that's okay. I mean, honestly, where would you put it? Where would you put it, man? The shows in my mind are always better. See, that's that mental illness thing I was talking about. I think that's why it's coming back. And then we see this lady. Ooh, this lady, the theater crowd's just arriving. We see her, and the more, how about this? The less material a dress have, the more it costs, the more it's worth. And so she's been dropped off by a taxi cab, and she's like, this isn't where I wanted to be dropped off at, you fucking idiot. I mean, we'd have to update this to Uber now, because it's my understanding that taxi drivers are obsolete. I'm sorry, if you're a taxi driver watching this, just become an Uber driver. I mean, it's literally the same line of work. And we see these two guys. I get like a distinct, I don't want to say Todd McFarlane, but it's Todd McFarlane in that the way the characters are drawn, you can tell what type of person they are. I doubt Todd McFarlane is the first one who introduced that sort of style, but it's who I think of. And you see, they look very menacing. This guy's, it's got like a gladly pay you Tuesday for hamburger today look about him. And we see this woman, she's looking at a piece of paper that says, hey, you're probably about to get murdered, dummy. And they're creeping up on him, and they just grab her hair and they just yank her right the fuck down. That's hot. That's real. I'm just kidding. And apparently the Maxx, he's been witnessing these things happen all the time. One woman, they beat her head so hard against the sidewalk they cracked the concrete. Another got away by running 3 blocks on a broken foot. Sometimes that's the only way people get saved. Suicidal bravery. Well, I feel like in that moment it's like, oh, my foot's broken. Or I get beat to death. I feel like that's an easy decision. And then her purse is falling down. She's got coins everywhere. And this guy, he starts going after the coins. Hey, there's another one. And I say to you, hey, am I getting murdered? Am I getting beat to death? Or are you picking up pennies? I feel like this is rude. I feel like the pennies aren't going anywhere and I'm still alive. Kill me in my suffering. He gets real close to the Maxx's box and the Maxx just yanks him in because you can't get close. You can't get close to a crazy man's box. This is literally his only possession and the weather is beating this thing down. It's dissolving. His home is dissolving. Just imagine that. Imagine your home starts dissolving. You think you would grab a guy by the scarf to let some of that rage out? I think you would. And then we see the Maxx for the first time. Well, apparently that guy, he ran into some problems. Then his friend Fridge, he looks at the box and we see this. Now tell me that shit isn't cool. You know what's always haunted me? Another thing, I am constantly haunted by things. I feel like I say that a lot, so I have PTSD, yes. The Maxx, he's very imposing. He looks cool, he looks crazy, but this, I don't understand the anatomy of his face. Those teeth are just jutting out. Does he not have a chin? Does he not have a jaw? Where are his lips? I don't understand what happens. Then some cops show up. Yeah, I gotta show this. Some cops show up. They arrest the Maxx because, I mean, he's big and purple and, yeah. And then her dress becomes worth more by my own logic. I mean, it looks like there are more holes in it. And she's like, oh, I was almost raped and murdered. Should I thank that guy? And then we realize that the cops have already left. And this is a thumb man. And he's about to thumb her to death. You decide what that means in your own imagination. I can't do all the work here. I can't be kind of funny and talk about stuff. You got to use some of your own imagination. You know what I'm saying? And then, I'll skip this page over here, but the Maxx is in the back of the police car, and you wouldn't think he'd fit back there, but he does. So, I don't know if it's ever answered, but if you know, is the Maxx a guy in a costume, or is this just his mental picture of himself? But then there's something later that happens in the comic that reaffirms that this is what he looks like. I don't know. So we see he's just sort of lying in the back seat. He's out of control. I don't remember where it was this week. I saw a paper, said it was Friday. Last I remember, it was Sunday. Oh God, it started again, the pounding. Oh God, I wish I was drunk. At least that would explain this. So, you know what? He's not afraid to get a little bit of alcohol. So he starts hearing some pounding, and then he goes off in his mind where he sees poorly photoshopped sky woman. Oh great, where the heck am I? And this is like my favorite iteration of the Maxx, where he's just tribal looking. I mean, look at that glorious mane. It's so tribal looking, and it's awesome. And also, you can go ahead and go down to the Topps trading card store and pick up some Maxx trading cards if you want. I mean, if you want. And also his foot, or his feet or his shoes. What's going on? And we see he looks massive, but then these things just start coming up out of him, and he's like, oh no, what's going on here? Each as strong as a man, hungry as death. Now, I don't think about death being hungry. I mean, sure, death, he comes along every once in a while and he eats our souls, but I don't think he's eating the souls out of hunger. I think he's eating our souls due to a sense of duty. I mean, I just feel like death doesn't get to feel hunger. Death doesn't have desires. I don't know, if death, if you're watching, just let me know if you have if you have actual characteristics to you. I'd like to get to know you, death. Or not, because I feel like if I touch you, I immediately will die. But I just feel like that's an odd thing to say. Hungry is death. But then we see these women. You'll notice that these women actually, I mean, they're pretty cartoonish looking, but they look like actual women as opposed to kind of what comics look like now. 1993 had women looking like women. What a weird time. Starting to fade. It's starting to come back to me now. Back to Australia. Oh, well, I wasn't picturing that. I thought this was just some weird place in your imagination, but I guess it's Australia. Not the Australia they teach you about. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I remember in Australia class, they didn't teach me about these little, like, hungry as death, white-armed creatures. They tell you, Melbourne, Sydney, the Outback. No, the real Australia, the smoking caves, the gods who eat mountains. Well, I gotta tell you, I feel like there aren't that many mountains in the world, so those gods, they gotta start diversifying their diet, because, I mean, I feel like there aren't that many mountains. Realistically, and then, what are they gonna start eating hills? Then what will boxers train on? Come on, so selfish, these gods. The flying dragons, the rivers of gold, the leopard queen. Look at that thing. Ferocious. Taunting me, almost an enemy, beautiful and feral as the great beast she runs with. Still, she inspires me. I don't think you can be feral and wear earrings, but that just may be my own personal prejudices. So, then we see, for her, I can be a hero, and he just starts slicing everything, and I feel like it's very appropriate to say that the Maxx is thick as fuck. Do you feel me? I mean, goddamn, he looks so cool. Like, even as a kid, I didn't even come around to the color purple. And I'm not talking about the movie and or book. I'm just talking about the actual hue, color, chroma, blah, 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 purple until well into my adult years. I used to think it was pretty lame. But this, I was always down with the Maxx being purple. So then we see sort of the real world version of this lady, and she works at a mental health place, and she's talking to this guy who, he just looks crazy. He just looks crazy, and he's like, even though I'm crazy, I've never seen a social worker who dressed like you neither, sort of like a hooker. Thanks for sharing that. I'll take it under advisement. Oh, so yeah, I mean, fishnets under the jeans? This lady's working on, she's doing some fucking wizardry with this outfit. Keeping in mind that I have a job while you have a blanket with vomit on it. Okay, she's cool. She's cool. Forget what I said to making fun of her outfit. I could be friends with this girl. So she starts, so she's just in her office, the phone rings, and she works for Health and Human Services, which I feel like you would not see this type of woman in Health and Human Services building, but I could be wrong. And the phone rings, and apparently she gets lewd calls all the time, because, I mean, I feel like if you wear fishnets under jeans, you're asking for a little bit of harassment, because even if I'm not some weird dude who's trying to holler at you, I feel like this is a trashy look, and people are going to call you out on it. You like the attention. But it's the cops calling her to inform them that the Maxx is in jail. They wanted to take him to mental health facilities, but they're all full because everybody's losing their goddamn mind about this purple-yellow guy running around town. They think he's not real, but apparently he is. So they call her, and they're like, hey, come get your boy. And she's like, oh, okay. And we see she's headed to the police station. This whole comic is very dark, very black. And so she's like, you got a package for me? Yeah, you shouldn't hang around with these creeps, Miss Julie. There was another rape last night. If you don't act stupid, you don't get raped. Can you imagine if they tried to put that shit in a 2018 comic? No fucking way. And then even the cops like, well, blame the victim, why don't you? It's a hard world. Okono, there's always enough blame to go around. And I just was like, what? You were wearing fishnets under your pants? You were talking about chicks getting raped? I still kind of like you. And so she says, like, she tells him it's harder to bail you out of here. And he tells the Maxx, God, this comic is making me lose my mind. The Maxx tells her, Julie, that it was the mask, which is the thumb guy. And she's like, come on. Let's just get you out of here. And she says, you need some new clothes, some food and a hot bath. And he says, okay, but no bubbles this time. So they have a bit of a close relationship. He's just in there, in her house, just on the couch. But then she says, I bought you a coat and a hat so you won't be so quite conspicuous. Not that being large, violent, purple and yellow isn't a good disguise. So I don't know what he is for real. I need to know. And then there's a scene of these unrelated teens who are drying their jeans, and the thumb guy comes and he murders them. And then the Maxx, he sees one of the little white-armed, little wormy type guys. And he gives chase. He chases them. He jumping around in the building, and then he runs in with the thumb man. I mean, look at that. Look at this. Which one's my thumb and which one's the comic? You can't even fucking tell. I mean, look at that. If my thumb was like well, that's still pretty big. If my thumb was like an inch longer, you would not be able to tell. So he runs into this guy, who he refers to as the Mask, but I'm calling him Thumb Man. He's like, who the hell are you? And I just realized this is all taking place on top of a gas station, which is weird. And then we see this, so it's like, he's just a guy under there? I don't understand. I don't understand. And I could so easily understand if I did some research, but you know, doing research is like super lame. Oh my god, really? It's like, yeah, you really don't remember any of it? It's not the girl or the its? The its are the little wormy guys that were coming up out of the ground. And I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but I've always thought of them as the its, so fight me. Then it wasn't all a dream, unless I was dreaming now. Too bad I normally hate killing amnesiacs. I mean, yeah, there's no joy in it, because they'll just forget that you did it. And we see that they're meep, and then we see, I love how he's drawn. He's fucking massive. Like, you know when Wolverine's drawn with huge fucking forearms, and it just gets you fucking pumped? This is how the Maxx is drawn 100% of the time. And we see him, he's got a huge cloak, and the its are there, and they look like Langoliers. Is Langoliers too deep of a cut for anyone to remember? And he says, true enough, too bad you'll be eaten before you'll have a chance to mutter this to anyone. Damn, still thinking out. No, wait, what did he say? Oh god, now I remember. And then he says all that, and then he's like, damn, so he's just like a crazy person. And then that's the end of it. And the Maxx is like, it's weirder than I remember. And I don't know, is this really a comic that we need to bring back? I don't know.